Good morning, all. We are just going to take a quick tour of what's blooming in the gardens this morning. So I wanted to share close-ups. I'll try to go slow so that you can really see some of these blooms. The peonies are getting started. I didn't put a support on this one down here, and I need to because just so gorgeous. I planted some petunias along here, still some weeds I need to get out and mulch it. And I need to trim, deadhead the Clematis here. It's been blooming so pretty. I have you know it's been an exciting morning already. You can step outside to take my morning garden walk and meet up with a 700-pound Papa Bear, which that can get your heart started. He ran away, but there's a mama bear and 3 babies too, so the caution is not to get between the parents and the babies inadvertently, because that would spell big trouble. Another Clematis. I need to deadhead this one a bit too, but even the seed heads are just rather interesting. But it will bloom more, or again, if I deadhead it. This peony has been just gorgeous, and it may be blooming a little bit more, not only from the variety, but because it gets a little bit more sun in this corner. So that is that. Still lots of work to be done. Weeding, all of this needs to come out of this area. There's a beautiful rose being smothered in there by all those volunteer plants. But the irises are really starting to come. This is my front garden, in case you didn't recognize it from previous videos. But lots and lots of irises, even though I have lots that were zapped by the late freeze. I'm finally getting some blooms in the garden, as you can see. We'll get up close to a lot of them. This one is one of my new ones from Sutton's Iris Garden in Idaho. And that one is a pretty corally color. I need to deadhead so that the succeeding blooms aren't crowded out by the ones that are done. I'm not sure what is that one called. I'd have to look it up. But it looks like it's going to be peachy. And that one is from last year. Just some really pretty ones. I have a couple of climbing roses down here in pots still, and I am thinking of putting them, hopefully I'm moving slow enough, on these 2 posts of the fence and let them climb up and onto the fence. That's my idea anyways. We'll see how that transpires. The dianthus have been just gorgeous and came back from last year easily. I think I'm going to get some more for along here because they've been blooming quite heartily when nothing else is blooming. So it just brings a fantastic spark of color. Now we're on the left side of the sidewalk. Look at this iris. Isn't that gorgeous? And this one, the color is very faint. It's almost an odd color, but look at the horns on the beards. They tip up. The petunias are starting to fill in lobelia around the Olivia rose. And then down the path here. This is a vintage iris. Very vintage, very hardy. So if you have struggle with growing irises, look at some vintage varieties. They seem to fare better than many newer hybrids. But this one is so pretty. This one, next one. Now this is another bed that really needs some attention, but I haven't gotten to it. And if I waited to share until everything was perfect, you would miss so much. But look at this one. Isn't that lavender with that yellow? And look at the gold edging on that. That is just so eye-catching. This one here, I have this in many parts of the garden because this is the one that is so heavily scented, like grape Kool-Aid, some say grape soda. And you can, in the afternoon warmth, you can really smell that in the garden. Here's the plants I shared from my shopping trip. I still need to get them planted. I have baskets ready to go. We had lots going on this weekend. My nephew's graduation party and all kinds of things, and now I'm getting back out in the garden this week. We had rain, which was so refreshing for the garden. The ground was quite dry, and everything seems to have perked up with that touch of rain. This is the bed that I am going to direct seed zinnias in. I had lots of zinnias here last year, and they were just wonderful in the summer. It also has lots of echinaceas in here too. So my roses are recovering from that freeze. Some still have some leaf damage I need to remove. Give them a good feed and let them take off. Get this one. This one's super dark. I don't know if it's coming. It doesn't look like it's coming through as dark as it is in real life. The camera is lightening it. So there's a Hearty Geranium. That one is called Tiny Monster. A few variety of iris against the fence. Now these barrels I'm just now planting up with some petunias to go along with the roses. And this one is a rescue off the rescue rack. And this one is Silverberry, Supertunia Vista Silverberry. And I'm pairing it with these salmon vein, I think is this one is called, petunia. And I think that will be a beautiful combination. Here you can see I've already got this one planted. And the roses trimmed back so they can recover. Look at my black lace elderberry. I love that. And I would love to get a lemony lace because I love the chartreuse color. And elderberries are native here, so they just take off. I have a delphinium coming up back there by that stone pillar. More iris. This bed right along here on this side. This is, I'm planting, I have my eryngiums, and I have some yarrow. I may plant more of my everlasting cut flowers in here as well as in the back bed. But that's a work in progress as well. More irises. There's a ton of irises here. That one is called That's All Folks. That one. I can always remember that one because I think of egg yolks, and then That's All Folks rhymes with egg yolks. But down along here, this is another new one for me. This one has small flowers, but they are so fun. And look at that lavender beard on there and how it turns up a little bit. I think that one's called Concertina. And then this white one back here is called Got Milk. I didn't have very many white ones. I have one in the back, but I didn't have very many. You can see how it's all coming along, right along where the dianthus are here, right along there where those irises are. I'm going to plant petunias right along the edge. I'm thinking the petunias, and they can scramble over the wall. Look at this one. This one's thick and lush, doing fantastic. So basically that's my front. You can see my bench down there. That arbor is going to be removed. I think I have an answer for that area, and I will share later. I'm always trying things out until I find something I like. That's the other round raised bed. But here is a rose. I got this off the rescue rack. It was $8. This is Queen Elizabeth. I had a Queen Elizabeth for years and years and years, and it died. I think the gophers got to the roots. So when I spotted it for $8, I had to nab it. It's a great vintage rose now, just a tried and true specimen that has the most beautiful big pink blooms. And my idea is to plant it back there by that piece of fence, and it'd be behind the black lace elderberry, right in the center of the fence, right there. Because it can get quite tall here. It stretches up. Alrighty, let's go down to the side garden. And down here's my Bosco bell rose. Oh, I do see a bud right here coming. This one just bloomed like crazy last year. I would love to get it in the ground and or get another one of the big wine barrels to put here for it to be in. Behind it is a peace rose. You can't see the differentiation. They kind of just meld together. But this is filled with drought-tolerant plants and rescue plants, as well as seedlings or seeds that seeded themselves. And that's the larkspur. You see, look at that larkspur is getting so tall. That thing's almost as tall as I am. So my test D'Iberville climbing roses that I have in the barrels, they're doing okay. And I can see finally the little clematis. These really got zapped in the freeze, but now they're coming back. So I'll get some blooms. Let me go down. I'm trying to move slow. And here's the other one on the other side. I would think I'd like to pull the daffodils out of here. They didn't do great this year, and I think the competition and or them not getting the sun being blocked by the roses might have had a problem. But this is another clematis that really got zapped in the freeze. As you can see. Anyways, that one I'll trim back. It's the type 1 pruning type, so I don't think I'll get very many blooms off of it this year because right when it was getting ready to bloom, it froze. So, and they bloom on old wood, so the old wood is what got zapped. So down here, my peonies that I had made my supports for, that I did a video how to do the DIY supports. Look at that one, that pretty pink one. It's going to be gorgeous. Now I just planted these last March. Not this March, the March before, 2021. And supposedly you don't get blooms for 3 years. And many say, oh, chop them off, the blooms off, so they put energy into their root growth. I'm not that interested in getting tons. I'll just let it slowly do its thing, and I'm not going to try to control it. I'll let it do what it wants to do. Now I'm on the roadside here, so you can see, look at this patch. This is another vintage iris. I think these are called arrowbreds. I'll have to look that up, but look at this patch. I will thin these out this year, but this is just put on a fantastic show when many others were zapped. Now the rain, you can see what it did to this Hearty Geranium. It knocked it down. If it doesn't perk up in the sun this week, I will trim it back. It will come back just fine and be more compact. This is Tiny Monster too. It has a tendency to get quite tall, but once it has flopped, it's kind of, you need to just go ahead and chop it back and let it reflush. It's okay, I'm using it as a ground cover along the road edge, so everything is good. Look at this beautiful lemony, it's like egg yolks. Yellow iris. And then this one down here is just, I love this color combo. So pretty. So along this edge of the road, the backside of my pear tree, and we'll go along to the other side by the house. Before we go up there, look at this peony. This thing is getting ready to burst open. Look at how many blooms on that thing. That is going to be just gorgeous when it opens up. So here's my Cerantris. I can never pronounce it. It's Aaron's beard, not Aaron's beard, Jupiter's beard, and or valerian. This is one of those tried and true old-fashioned flowers that just performs. I have a white one started, and these bloom for me all summer long. Now, if you want a tough plant one of these. A lot of people say that, they reseed themselves too heartily in their garden, but I've not had that issue. In fact, I had to root divide it to get more. So maybe it's just my conditions or what have you. So don't be afraid to go ahead and plant something like this. It's worth it. And if it did put out seeds and they came up where I didn't want them, I do like I do weeds. I just pull them up. We're going to go down the side. Seems I got a bunch of pine needles blew in. But look at this. This is Brugmansia, and it's a fantastic ground cover, and it just spreads where I don't want it, then I just weed eat it back. And here is my trumpet vine that I am training into a standard or tree. And so far so good. I need to actually replace this barrel here. So it's going to be a real trick to dig this thing up and transplant it, but I will wait till the fall. Let it do its thing this year. Here is, I have a few of these in different parts of the garden. This is Supreme Sultan. It has such an interesting color combination. It's very dramatic. Look, my Bell of Walking is blooming. Let me get this over here. Oh, maybe I'll take you down to see this flower. It's climbing up this obelisk with this rose. This rose is Dream Weaver. And I see one of those little pinchy bugs. Those little bugs, they're called needle nose weevils, and they puncture the buds and make a mess of them. I usually come out with a cup of soapy water every morning and pick them off the roses. This time of year when the roses are just coming out, they are pretty bad. So foxgloves up against the fence. I think right here is where we're going to plant the other blue delphinium I bought. And this Nepeta, Cat's Pajamas, has been just wonderful. I ordered a couple from our local little garden center, some Junior's Walker's Low Junior Nepeta, and I'm going to put it on the other side and get that started. So I have the path lined on each side with those beautiful plants. Another irises, look at this one, that pink with purple. And then the one next to it is very interesting. Isn't that gorgeous? I can't remember the names of them. I'd have to look them up. I've got so many now I've lost track. But look at that beautiful blue back there. It's not capturing it on the camera at all. It is such a gorgeous baby blue. So there's a lot of things in here that are summer bloomers for warmer weather, like agastaches, salvias, etc. So it'll take a while for it to fill in, though right now the California poppies that reseeded themselves are coming in, and they are pretty. I'll yank them up as soon as they're done. But I tossed a dahlia back there, and it's coming up. I'm going to have to get in there and provide a support for it. My Warsaw Nike's just getting started. Look. This will be a mass of purple within days. It's supposed to get up to 83 today. And then by Friday, it's supposed to be 90 for one day. And then the temperatures go back down again. But let's go along here. And this, so far, all of these poppies have been orange, but they're just gorgeous. I'll take you around to see some more in the secret garden. I'm doing all of the gardens this time, not just breaking it up, just because these are quick. Look at this. Columbine, that is so pretty. The blue, the flowers weren't on, not as big, and I need to trim this back. It's already quite done. Let's walk along this side. This iris is Starship Enterprise, and this was a clump that I had tossed here when I had divided and given away a bunch of rhizomes, and I didn't get rid of that one, and it bloomed in place. It was sitting on top of the ground. That shows you how tough they are. And this viola reseeded here, and I just let it go. That's actually the pathway into my little patio area. My little patio. This is a beautiful, it's not open right now because it's cold, but that's a Delisperma. This one is called, I got this from Annie's Annuals. And let me see, this one is Red Mountain Flame, and it is so pretty. It has some gold in the middle when it's open, and it's just an eye-catching. It is like a flame. So this one is fuchsia. This is Table Mountain, and it's getting ready to bloom too. And this thing is just, I planted this here last year, and look, it just covered this wall. which did much more than I anticipated, which I'm thrilled with. And this dainty little thing, I forgot what it was called, and I saw them again at Annie's Annuals, and it has these dainty blue flowers it's covered with. So I'll share again once it's blooming very well. This is a piece of, or a Bill Wallace Hearty Geranium from the back that I put up here. I had reseeded and I dug up some of them and planted them back here. Look at this interesting color, iris. Isn't that gorgeous? And then behind it is an apricot glow. That's not the name, but that's what it looks like to me. Just fantastic. Look at this Veronica down here. Or is this a salvia? I have to look at the tag again. This is another one I got from Annie's Annuals. I love the plants that I get from Annie's. They are so tough. And many of them are heirlooms, so they have lasted the test of time. So, Dianthus I planted along here. Doing very pretty. My hosta, that's a Patriot hosta. So, it's doing okay. It gets pretty big usually, and it kind of stalled here after the freeze, so I'm not sure what's up. I need to dig around to make sure there's no gophers. Now my Viburnum, my snowball Viburnum really got hit with that late freeze too, but I could see it's putting on new growth. That's pretty. So, and down underneath here, I got to trim up some of these pear limbs, but there's my other Oriental Poppy. That's another beautiful orange. Looks like it's struggling to get some sun, so we'll fix that soon. But we'll just look up the side garden. So that's what it's like here on this, after the first week of June. I think today's the 7th. So everything's looking gorgeous. We'll continue down. Here's my studio. And let's go down beside the studio. It came down off. These are the pots that I'm going to put some of those petunias in. And I have some begonias in that pot that are doing well. Japanese maple. My Acanthus mollis is in this barrel, buried by some violas right now. And hopefully that will take off and become big. They said it likes part shade, but you know, I may have the coolish temperatures where it might prefer more sun here. So when I prune up my pear, maybe that will help it get it a little more light. A bunch of these are vintage iris that I tossed over here to compost, and they rooted and took off. Irises along here. I have another big clump of this over in the secret garden. This dark purple is very similar to the one up front, but I think it's a little bit lighter. And here's a rose here. I may dig this up and pull it away from the studio so it's not up against the wall. I had a trellis here for it, and like I said before, I would get this black mold where the rose was up against the building, and it was very tough to get off. So for maintenance sake, I'm going to move it eventually. Now down here is my little bed that I put up because I had a spare raised bed and I didn't know what to do with it, so I put it down here beside the road. And I'm going to plant my zucchini. I did plant some zucchini seeds. I need to plant some others. But right there, I dumped a pot. This is where I dumped a bunch of pots that had stuff in it. So right there, you can see I dumped a dahlia tuber that I thought was not going to sprout. So I dumped it in here, and look, I just tossed that thing in here. No telling if it was upright or not, but now that dahlia is coming up. So I will provide it as support and let it do its thing in that bed amongst the zucchini. So here is my Demitasse rose, and you can see where that freeze had damaged it severely. I will cut that out, but along the other areas it's starting to put on blooms. This thing blooms nonstop all summer long. These little diminutive, beautiful roses. It does like it where it's partly shady more, and that's why it's back here. And it gets some of that shade. Look at this Columbine. This thing always comes back every year, bigger and better, reseeds, and it's just gorgeous. One of my irises I had put back here. And this, my friends, is called a sub pod. And this is a composting system, a worm composting system that was sent to me to trial and test for you and see how I like it. You can see I need to get it filled in around. This is supposed to be soil and you plant around it, and that's where the worms go, in that box for your worm farm. So, and there's a foxglove, and this is a beautiful color right in the bed, which I'll leave it there. Let it do its thing. We are in the secret cottage garden. You can see a bunch of my plants still staged here to be planted. I put my little fountain here. I need to plug it in. So the secret cottage garden is really not ready for viewing eyes, but we are going to look at it anyways because there's things happening. It hasn't changed much since the last little visit we had, and I'm working on it. A little bit at a time. I do what I can when I can. And that is how you enjoy your garden, rather than waiting to enjoy it when you have a finished result. Is you just enjoy the journey. My butterfly bush, I always say that. This is a milkweed, but it's for the monarchs. I haven't got it planted yet. But lots beginning to bloom. There is that iris I said I had a whole patch of when we were over by the studio. This is massive patch of it. A lot have already faded. Another Supreme Sultan over there. Big patch of that. My Bill Wallace Hearty Geranium. I told you I was going to cut it back, and I did, and it's blooming again. Down here, that patch of the lime Nicotiana. I got a whole patch of seedlings there, and I need to divide some out and see if I can transplant some elsewhere. Here is another white iris in my garden. The centerpiece that I'm slowly filling with soil, and I will get planted up. I probably will put petunias in it since they do so well the first year and fill in, and then we'll decide what else. I may just keep putting petunias in it every year because I love petunias. So this bed has the beautiful white phlox. I will divide those this year. They just took off, and place them in other parts of the garden. I love plants that just come back of their own each year. It just makes gardening a little bit less tedious. I should say tedious. I should say stuff that can be the backbone, and then you just add what you want. Here is a vintage rose. I think this is, let's see, it's either Reigns de Violets or Madame Alfred. No, I can't remember. I always forget that one, but it's gorgeous. Another iris. Oh, there's one of those foxgloves back there. Things struggle along this wall, and that is because the gophers have their main tunnel there. So I've been trying to keep the deterrent sprayed there, the castor oil deterrent. That poppy is going to be pretty. Hopefully it's one of the Lauren's grape that I had seeded. So my bench this year is the first year it was here. Last year this was just plants. I had some dahlias planted here in a raised bed and other things. So another one of my grape scented iris, and here's one of those oriental poppies I was telling you about. It's already bloomed a bit, and down there is a seed head. The seed heads are as pretty as the poppies themselves. Here's my catchfly, also known as red campion, silene. It's beautiful. Here's my Hearty Geranium. I got this at Botanical Garden, Mendocino Botanical Garden. I think it's called Phyllis. And it's got a pretty fuchsia flower. I do try to put in things that really perform for me, and once I learn of them, I try to get more varieties, and this is what Hearty Geraniums are one of them that just come back every year. You can see the poppies are taking over my poor petunias, but they will be done really quick, and I can pull them out, and the petunias can continue on. These two climbing roses, my white iceberg climber, and I can't remember what the other one was. It's pink, but they're recovering from the freeze. I just fed them yesterday with my organic liquid feed that I used. And look at those. Look at those poppies right here. We can't miss this iris on the way, but look at these. Aren't these gorgeous? Now I thought the one that was taller was going to be pink, but I was wrong. But this color is just so, with that purple center. I love it. It's just gorgeous. I can't believe these came from a dollar store seed pack. It was 2 packs for $1, so it was 50 cents a package, and I think every single one of them came up. I gave away tons, but also planted quite a few in my garden. The foxgloves, those reseeded themselves. I've got the thistle, what is it called? Globe thistle back there, and there's the pink delphinium. The delphiniums didn't do well this year. They're staying quite small compared to previous years. And this is my Colette climber, which really took a hit with that freeze, and now it's finally recovering, putting on new leaves. Quite envious when I see others and their roses are just blooming away, but mine will. They'll recover. Hopefully next spring we won't have such a freaky late freeze. This iris always is stunning and filled. Look, I've got to divide that one again. I did divide it out and it's already ready for another one. This is lemon coral sedum. It's making a recovery. It really took a hit over the winter. It's not as hardy as my other coral sedums at all, but at least it's coming back. I was disappointed in its lack of hardiness compared. My others are all just fantastically gorgeous. So here's a little staging area for some plants I need to find places for. I have tons of sempervivums, all different kinds in pots everywhere, and I need to find homes for them. And here's this big patch of iris. So when I dig this out, and I will dig it back from the edge so that these back here remain, but these in the front are gone, and I'll plant something right here along the path's edge. But there's a pathway underneath the deck. The climbing roses that cover this, when these bloom, they're just powerful to walk by and smell. Just gorgeous. Some more plants to get planted. And back here, my everlasting flower garden, I hesitated on this. I put a pause on it because we were thinking of moving the greenhouse and then putting the chicken house up here. But I don't think that's going to work because I think it's just a little too close to the house, you know. And even though I keep my chicken pen pretty clean, it still attracts a lot of flies. And we spend a lot of time on our back deck in the summer. So the greenhouse door is open. It looks like, oh crud, the bear was in there. I could already tell. I was wondering, thankfully, hopefully he didn't do much damage. Thankfully, I hadn't put the new feed in. It was down to the bottom of the barrel. Funny how they get into it. They don't like it. They don't eat it, but they make a mess of everything. So, I didn't think I was going to get any blooms on this, but look, my Cecile Brunner rose. So, hopefully that bear didn't figure out about chickens, because my hot wire is not up at the moment. It's still supposed to be getting repaired. But here's the Veggie Garden. I do have some flowers in there because I companion plant, and I will show you that all later as things come in. Alyssum is wonderful to plant next to your veggies because it attracts a lot of the bad pests, but can withstand their onslaught. So this boxwood I was going to try to make into a chicken topiary, but I haven't got a clue what I'm doing, and it's like I don't even know where to start. But that was my hope for that. That's why it's so shaggy-maggy and not pruned down to a nice little globe. So along here, a bunch of lilies I need to get in the ground. Because the gophers like to eat them, I put them in the ground in the pot, and that helps them not be eaten, and I can actually enjoy flowers. So sun is beginning to come over the trees. I got a little hummer up there. Let's see if I can capture it. up on the top of the arbor. Can you see him? Oh, no, he's going to the feeder. My screen is so tiny. He's a fat little rascal. See if I can zoom. Ah, well. So I have that there. I'm surprised the bear didn't find it and knock it down. I've had to move them around because the bears have been coming and knocking them down. So over in there, I have peppers. I have jalapenos, and I seeded some habaneros, but they're not hot habaneros. So hopefully they will sprout. I've had struggled in years past to get them to even germinate, so we'll see. I just direct sowed them. This bed is still to be planted. These are Coco Loco roses, and I had to dig them up from where they were because they weren't thriving, and so I wanted to make sure I got them a good start. Tomatoes, this is my garlic. I went by the rule of the 2 bottom leaves dying and then they'd be ready, and I pulled one up and it wasn't. So I guess I can't go by that. I guess I can't go by that as a predictor of readiness. Oh, somebody's getting a delivery of a lot of stuff. Somebody's doing some home repair. Okay, right here this is another cherry tomato. This is Chadwick's cherry. It's a vintage one from, I think it's called, from Renee's Seeds. It's already got some little tomatoes on it. That's so thrilling. And here is a new raised bed, and how I start by filling it with debris, garden debris, weeds, things I've pulled up, throw them in here, and then I throw some dirt on top and plant in it. Look at it here. This is a sweet pea that was seeded very early. I need to come out and pick and support this. This came up amongst all these plants right here. I did plant some of my garlic here and other things. So basically, my friends, that is all the gardens after the first week of June. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Just a quick look, and I'll see you in the next video.